Guten Tag. So today we're going to be talking about the imperative form. So our goal is to get a handle on each of the different types of imperative or command forms in German. So there are 4 command forms in German. That's the du, the ihr, the wir, and the sie form. And these command forms, we use these as well in our own language. We use these when we're trying to give instructions to somebody or tell somebody to do something. So you might think of it as like, do your homework is different than you are doing your homework. You're telling somebody to do it, so do the homework. That's what the command form is. And that's what each of our 4 forms is for. So let's take a look at each of these forms. So the do form, that's a command form that you use when you are telling one person to do something. So you're telling one person, do this thing, do this, do that, and it's for one person. Now, this form is pretty simple. All you have to do is take your verb, whatever the action is in your command. So in this case, let's take the verb spielen, to play. Okay? You take that infinitive form, you take off the en, and that's your command form. And then you put everything else after that. So your verb, your action is going to go first in your command, just like it would in English, okay? So in this case, we have spiel, play. And then the command underneath, spiel Fußball, is play soccer. So this is different than sentences that we've learned before where, if you said, du spielst Fußball, that's just saying, that's a declarative sentence. It's just saying, you are playing soccer. But in this, our command form, this is saying play soccer. You're telling somebody to do that. So, to recap, you put your verb at the beginning of your command, just like you would in English. Okay? You take off the en, and then everything else in your command, no matter how long it is, goes after that verb. Es ist nicht so schwer. So, for other examples, if we wanted to tell somebody to make the bed, das Bett machen, we would say, mach das Bett. So the verb goes first, and we took off the en. If we wanted to tell somebody to set the table, deck den Tisch. So the verb is first again. Okay, and we took off the en. Now, I want you to give it a try. So apply that rule. Put your verb first, take off the en, and that's your command form. So, what would the do form command be for das Geschirr spülen? So, if we find our verb, spülen, we put that at the front, take off the en, that gives us our command, spül das Geschirr. Okay, wash the dishes. Okay, let's try another one. Die Wäsche waschen. Do form command, what would it be? Okay, if we find our verb, waschen, okay, we put that first, take off the en, and everything comes after it, we have wasch die Wäsche. Okay, so it's as simple as that. For the do form, you take off the en, and put the verb first. So, for the ihr form, now, this is again, you're commanding, but you're commanding more than one person. So the do form was for just one person that you were talking to, but let's say you're talking to a brother and sister. You would hear this command form a lot in a place like a teacher talking to a classroom, or listening to a coach talk to their team, because a teacher and a coach are usually telling more than one person to do something. So, this time around, the verb's still going to go first, just like it did in the other examples. But so we're going to take off that en, but we're going to add a t at the end, just like you would when you are conjugating a verb for ihr in a regular sentence. Except, again, for a command form, you don't have to say ihr. You just say the verb and then whatever you're commanding somebody to do, right? So in this case, let's say you were telling, like a coach was telling people to play tennis. Okay? The coach would say, spielt Tennis. So our verb is still first, but with the ihr form, we put a t at the end for that command form. So, let's give that a shot. Let's say you're telling two people to make a bed. So we're going to use the ir form. What would that command be? Okay, think we want our verb first. We take off that en and we're going to put on a t, which gives us the command macht das Bett. Okay, so we have our verb first, and since it's the ir form, we put a t at the end. If this were the do form, we just wouldn't put the t. But because it's the ir form, we did put that. Okay, try this one. Mäht den Rasen. So, we put our verb first, and then the t. Mäht den Rasen. Okay, so next up is the wir form. So we have the do and the ir, and now the wir form. So we have do, you're talking and commanding one person. The ir form, you're talking to and commanding more than one person. The wir form is when you are commanding a group of people, including yourself. Just like when you think about it, wir, we, it makes sense. So we would probably translate this to, let's go do something, okay? So we have here the command form. So if you look, all you have to do is have your verb, and you just add wir after it. So gehen wir means let's go, okay? Tanzen wir means let's dance, okay? So all you have to do is add the wir after the verb. So the verb still goes first. You just plop wir right after that. Okay? So, if we had this form, okay, what would the wir command be for let's do homework? Okay, so if you had this, you're correct. We have our verb first, machen, to do, and then we just put wir after it. Machen wir die Hausaufgaben. Right? Our next one, back to das Geschirr spülen. But this time we're just saying, let's wash the dishes. So, that gives us spülen wir das Geschirr. Great. Now, for our final form is the Sie, that formal form. Okay? So this is just a more polite form, a more formal command form. As you know, do is more informal, and Sie is more formal. You might use this when talking to a teacher, you know, someone that you're showing respect to. Okay? So, if you notice, the only thing that you have to do for the Sie command form, whereas for the wir form you added wir after the verb, this time you're just adding Sie after the verb. So, you might hear me say, sprechen Sie Deutsch, bitte. Please speak German. And you can add bitte to any of your forms. Schauen Sie den Film. Watch the film. It's just a more formal, more polite way of commanding somebody. Okay? Es ist nicht so schwer. So, let's give that a shot for the Sie form. So, den Müll nehmen. Okay? All you have to do, remember, put your verb first, follow it with Sie, and that's your command. Nehmen Sie den Müll. Take your trash. Okay? Now, let's give this one a shot. Schreiben. This is a pretty short command, but we still wanted to make it polite. So, we take our action, put it at the front, follow it with Sie. Schreiben Sie. Okay. Now, just a quick note for our separable prefix verbs. So, we may know these as Fruit Ninja verbs. We're still going to apply all the rules of each of our imperative forms. So, for do, we just took off the en on the verb. For ir, we added a t after taking off that en. For wir, we added the word wir after the verb. And for Sie, we added Sie after that verb. But we are still also going to apply the rules for our separable prefix verbs, where we are going to separate the prefix and place it at the end of the command. Okay? So both rules still being applied. So if we take a look at Staubsaugen, to vacuum, we have it here with the do form, so Saugstaub, the en was taken off. The ir form, saugt Staub, we just added a t after taking off the en. The wir form, saugen wir Staub, okay, so we just took that off. Then the sie form, saugen sie Staub. So, the rules for the commands are still applied. The rules for the separable prefix verbs are still applied. Okay? So, thanks for that quick overview of the command forms. So, you're going to take this time. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, auf Wiedersehen.